Good morning. It's really good to be home with you. You know, you travel around to the different churches, and when I come home, I feel so wonderful to be in your presence. It's been really a good morning. I invite you into prayer. We are united together in this place called sanctuary, dear Lord, away from all the clatter of this world. We have silenced our cell phones, but help us not to silence our minds. We are seated comfortably in this air-conditioned space, but help us not to be too comfortable so that we can be alert to taste and see your words, the same way those on the hillside tasted and saw. Guide us and strengthen our ways to bring about a just world for all. Amen. You know, in the beginning of this chapter, Jesus is sitting on a wonderful hillside. The crowds have gathered with his newly formed disciples surrounding him. And he begins to teach just like a rabbi would. He began changing the old law, offering new one. His followers could hardly believe their ears, for he said things like, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, the meek, the hungry, the thirst, and blessed the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers, and those who are persecuted. And then be glad, rejoice because your reward is great in heaven." These 8 statements called the Beatitudes tell what kinds of people, in Jesus' perspective, are well off, have a good life, are fortunate and blessed. With these statements, he was turning the known world upside down so that those who have been fighting for breath at the bottom of the human heap suddenly found themselves closest to heaven. And did you notice Jesus is saying today, not tomorrow or the next, but today. The Greek states them as explanations right this very minute. Now happiness in the kingdom of heaven for those poor in spirit. Now mercy. Notice that also that they say blessed. They don't say blessed are they, but they say blessed are you. Blessed are you. What a hopeful message for those listening. The poor, the meek, the merciful, those who are grieving, those who are striving for peace. Blessed, says this teacher Jesus. And then he builds on this by giving these ordinary folks participants as kingdom people. They are now compared to salt, which flavors and preserves meat, and to light, which penetrates and eradicates darkness. You are the salt of the earth. Christians are to life what salt is to food, that which preserves the seasons and seasons' life. I want to underscore the flavoring rule. There's a young woman that came to me, and she was in love with 2 men. She couldn't make up her mind which to marry. First, she says, one was charming and witty and constantly in good company, but sometimes not reliable in a crisis. The second was on the dull side, but always a rock of Gibraltar. I thought for a moment, and I asked her, "How often do you plan to be in a crisis?" These might be 2 very good persons, but remember the words from Proverbs? A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a downcast spirit dries up the bones. "Well," I asked, "do you want to be Mrs. Drybones?" Well, Oliver Holmes remarked, "I know I might have entered the ministry if certain clergy I knew had not looked and acted so much like undertakers." No offense to undertakers. Robert Louis Stevenson wrote in his diary as if recording an extraordinary phenomenon. He says, I've been to church today and I'm not depressed. All of which is to remind us that our God is no frowning deity, even in a world as depressed as our own. We should be full of the life of joy. When the earth offers us fullness, we are not wrong to desire it. We're not wrong to take it in. We are not 3 times wrong not to share it as widely as possible with every human being we see. Remember, just a pinch of salt seasons far beyond its proportion. So a handful of really joyful Christians can radiate gladness in all directions. When Paul and I lived in Iran, we had church on Friday. It's Muslim holy day, where all the businesses and shops were closed. And I absolutely loved living in Tehran, except for the drivers and the honking of horn. I would believe that there had to be at least 5 or 6 horns in each car. You think that Route 4 is bad? It's a picnic compared to the roads in Tehran. But at the end of worship, the Reverend Bob Pryor would end this way. I know when you leave this place, you are frustrated by bad driving and the honking of horns. But I can even hear out the door, you start beginning shouting profanities and waving your fists. I'll tell you what, let's teach some good English. If it's a bad offense, why don't you say something like, you airplane? You house? You Empire State Building? Wave and smile. And if it's a small offense, say book, table, chair. But remember to smile and wave while you're doing this. It's all important, he says, because you are the light of the world. Whether to be a guide to illumine, the point of any light is to be seen. A city on a hill cannot be hid, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a bushel, but put it on a stand, and it gives light to all the house. You, Jesus says, you are the light of the world. We are all witnesses to the light which shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. You are the flaming ambassadors of that life which streams from the cross, spotlighting every single soul on this earth. A love so amazing, so divine, as to demand my soul, my life, my all. What must we do to let our light shine, we ordinary people? First of all, I believe this light comes from within, our very being. Light shines out, not in. Each of you have the opportunity for your light to emerge from your very being. For these past 18 years, I've seen amazing ministry because of your light, and I'm proud to be a member here. There are many examples I could hold up today. However, there's a couple I would just like to share with you this morning. One example, we just witnessed together in April, the 25th anniversary celebration of Sure. A light began within, began with one, and it took 3 years before Reverend John Seister began an organization called Sure, Sarasota United for Responsibility and Equity. He felt called to lead this ministry. For the first year, only another person was interested, but he kept pursuing. The second year, a couple more. The third year began to take off. And on April 30th this past year, we celebrated 25 years of that ministry, 19 churches and synagogues, and over 1,000 people are involved in Sure. How many here are involved in Sure? It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful organization. One of many ministries Sure is involved in is the Comprehensive Treatment Court. Before 2016, a horrible cycle existed. Our brothers and sisters struggled with mental illness, homelessness, and were arrested and released just to be arrested over and over and over again. Shore discovered they had a solution. Judge Quartermine had prepared a comprehensive treatment court and would provide these individuals with services that would pull them from this cycle and get them into a more stable condition. What was the problem? Money. However, that didn't stop Shore at all. Shore used people power to get our county, the city, and other stakeholders to fund this court. Today, Sarasota has comprehensive treatment court that in its first year helped 80 individuals out of the cycle of mental illness, homelessness, and arrests. Our church, under the leadership of Pastor West, and you are still leading the way, and now working for affordable housing and much more. A little season of salt with many folks to share the light of Christ made a difference and continues today transforming lives of God's precious children. Let your light shine before people that they may see your good works. But we're not limited to social justice. For example, a lovely small lamp of the Lord can make a huge difference. There's a wonderful lady in her 90s who plays the piano and used to sing in the choir. It's not easy for her to get around, but she is a bright light to many. What her ministry is to phone you, the members of the church, on their birthdays and anniversaries and sing while playing her piano. One member says she waits for her voicemail every year. She doesn't answer because she wants to hear it on her voice machine so she can listen over and over and over again. Thank you, Fran Collard. Will you give a wave? But you know, just as you don't have to be a drum major for justice, you don't have to be an artist or musician to be a lamp of the Lord. Emily Dickinson wrote, "If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin up to its nest again, I shall not live in vain. Let your light shine before people that they may see your good works and glorify your God who is in heaven." It's not a question of being humble, just a question of fact. As all light stems from the sun, so all goodness stems from God. If you can accept your goodness not as an achievement, but as a gift, you're, in fact, much freer to enjoy it. I've been so impressed with all the gifts of your good works you have accomplished, from loving neighbors, loving children, and loving creation. And I'm proud to share them with the Florida Conference as well as our Cleveland office. And they'll be recognized across our nation. You'll be living proof with others, and will be inspired to repeat these across our nation. When we share these with those who are oppressed, the outcast, the poor, and for those looking for a church, they will have hope. You know, Diana Butler Bass wrote this: "What will make a difference to the future is awakening to a faith that fully communicates God's love. A faith that transforms how we believe, what we do, and who we are in the world. You are the light of the world and the salt of the earth." Dear friends, if God so loved the world as to send his only Son to brighten our darkness, let us not fear to carry the torch even down to the very gates of death itself. Let us comfort the poor, shelter the weak, and with all our might fight for that which is right against that which is wrong. Oh, we can't do everything, but we can do something, for faith can place a candle in the darkness of night. The gospel of Jesus Christ comes down to a rather simple proposition for us ordinary people. If God is to be known, that knowledge will be in the lives of ordinary people who are redeemed by His extraordinary message of love. What the world knows of God, it will know through us. For better or for worse, we are the good news. We are the light of the world. You don't need to finish a PhD. You don't even have to finish your Sunday Times to let the light shine. And most importantly, we don't have to postpone the blessedness of Christ into some ever-retreating future. We don't say when the kingdom comes, you see. The kingdom is here and now. We don't need to wait for better prayers or better rules to come along and do our shining for us. No, the work of God awaits our hands. The love of God awaits our hearts. The people of God await our fellowship here and now, ordinary and imperfect though we may be. Therefore, graduates, undergraduates, townsfolk, old and new, young and old, brothers and sisters, strong and weak, let your light shine in the world that all may see your good works. And may God bless you as we continue to follow in Christ's footsteps, working together a just world for all. I know we will be blessed as we are a blessing. Amen.